Hi, welcome to Virtual Conversations with Creatives. I'm Tanya Trotter, and I'm the Communication Specialist for Create Birmingham. Each week, we have been excited to host conversations with our community's creatives, and this week, I'm talking to Eunice Elliott. You probably recognize her face because she was formerly a news anchor and now is a stand-up comedian full-time. She's a busy lady, stand-up. You've been hosting a YouTube and Facebook channel called Comedy Quarantined. You have a podcast and a children's book. So please tell us all about your projects you've been working on, one at a
Well,
time.
first of all, thanks so much for having me. This is exciting to have this platform. And it is true, people recognize my face from the news, but they don't recognize my hair because I can do anything to it now that I'm not on the news. So it's different all the time. And now that we're wearing masks out in public, no one ever thinks or talks to me. I used to get stopped in stores all the time, and now I have not been Eunice Elliott for at least 3 months. So it's actually been pretty cool. But even in quarantine, I have found a way to stay really busy. I left the news desk in order to pursue my creative aspirations. I was limited in what I could pursue outside of news. And when it just came down to it, I thought, I think I'll be happier if I'm able to create and put that product out versus having that creative desire and not being able to put it out, but getting a steady paycheck. So just so happens when I decided to make that big leap and jump out into the big wide world, the big wild world shut down. And so I've had to get creative in how to be a creative in these situations. And so my children's book, my first children's book came out on March 20th, which was also my last day on the news, and also kind of the beginning of the quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to do all my sales online and no book signings or meet or greets or whatever, but it's still done very well. I also have a podcast. So where me and my podcast partner would go to the radio station to record, we now record our Zoom calls and then upload the audio. To make sure we're social distancing. And then as far as stand-up comedy, as you mentioned, I've been doing the comedy quarantine with the Stardome, and we've been having different comedians come on, and we're just kind of having a chat, but in a funny way. So everything so far, I love being at home. So I have not had any complaints because I do live alone. I think I'm a little spoiled in that I don't have anybody else talking to me other than my two dogs, and they are a lot. But it's been interesting, and I think a lot of things as we do figure out our new normal, we'll have to kind of keep some of these things in place as we do move forward.
Well, I want to take a moment to talk about what the catalyst was for you making this major career change. I know that you celebrated a birthday recently
I did.
because we're Facebook friends, and also you're Gemini,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
I'm a Gemini. So.
Oh, well, see, there you go. There you have it. So you understand. You already know the answer to all the questions before you ask me. Okay.
So did your birthday have something to do with kind of taking this leap? Is it something you thought about for a long time?
Well, because I was under contract, it was something that I had to think about for a long time and also communicate to management well in advance, to negotiate being let go out of my contract, and so it wasn't just like an overnight thought of, oh, I'm going to quit my job. It was, well, first of all, the uniqueness was my alarm would go off at 2:30 a.m. So if you ever are curious about, do you want to do something, set your alarm at 2:30 a.m. to do it. And that will give you your answer. I will do this. And so, people set their alarm at 2:30 maybe to go fishing or go hunting, and because they're excited, they got to get out there. I did not feel that about going to do the news. And it's also a roundabout way that I ended up doing the news anyway. I got a degree in journalism from University of Alabama. That was my initial thought, was to be a journalist, to be a writer, to be a news anchor or reporter. But once I started interning, I didn't want to do bad news. I'm not a bad news person. And so I shifted my energies to sports. And so my first career was in sports. I worked at ESPN. I worked for the Tennessee Titans. I worked for the Orange Bowl Committee doing PR and media relations. And I worked for Pat Dye Jr., who's an agent in Atlanta, doing his client relations before I started my own PR firm representing athletes. But through all of that, I was behind the scenes, and that was a comfortable place for me to get other people ready to shine. So as a writer, as a producer, as a media coach, as a publicist, I was able to take what I thought would work and kind of implant it into my clients. And then one day I just thought, well, what would happen if I was not the plus one? What if I was the one? And I had to kind of just have a talk with myself. And this was maybe about 10, 11 years ago. I don't know what year it is, 2020. So no, this might have been, 14, 15 years ago. And I just said, I'm going to just step out there and be myself. And what I have found is there's more space for me in the world as Eunice, the unique individual I am, than there is for me to try to be like something else I've seen that I may have deemed as successful. So it wasn't an overnight thought. I've always been someone who's always reinvented myself. Turning 45 last week was this moment of, who does that? Like, where did 45 come from? So I'm always attached to my last breath thought. I always think, unfortunately, all of us are going to have a last breath. And hopefully I will be conscious to have a last breath thought. And I don't want it to be, oh, wait, I didn't. Hold on. Wait, I meant to. I want it to just be, I did that. So birthdays, Mondays, the first day of the month, New Year's, holidays, I pretty much start over all the time.
Well, I like your zeal for being able to switch it up, and also I would have never guessed that you were 45. I feel like this is
Yes, I
way
am.
off subject for this medium, but you
Well,
look
you didn't hear me sit down on my little stool, but if I still am on Zoom, by the time I stand up, you'll hear my knees and my back crack, and you'll say, "Oh, okay, I can hear it. I can hear it."
Well, I do want to talk a little bit about your children's book. Can you give us a plot synopsis and also
Yeah.
where we could purchase it locally?
Wonderful. So my children's book was born from an innate need I have to help. It's almost an illness that I want to help people. You know, sometimes you kind of have that little glitch in your system where you think you can help everybody. I have learned and am learning I can't help everybody, and I need to help myself first. But from social media, I have a very strong social media following, and I see so many people are so divided for so many different reasons. It could be race, it can be religion, it can be politics, it can be for sports teams, it can be for favorite sports figure. People just find reasons to argue a lot. But when I would post pictures of my two dogs, Sugar, Baby, and Bella, all the people that I would see that hated each other would all be on that one thread, oohing and on over my dogs. And unfortunately, people tend to have more compassion for animals than they have for each other. So I thought, what if I could combine the two ideas of lessons of empathy, inclusion, acceptance, and love, but tell it through stories, real life stories of my two dogs. And so that's how Sugar Loves Bella's book series was born. The first book is called So Much Love to Give. It's funny to think of a plot synopsis for a children's book, but here it goes. It's deep. I had the one dog, Sugar Baby, and Sugar loved to run and play and sleep in her bed, but Sugar was lonely. She had so much more love to give, and Mommy brought home a surprise. It was a puppy named Bella who looked nothing like Sugar, different colors, different breeds, different hair types, but Bella also loved to run and play and take naps, and they loved to run and play and take naps together, and they loved each other so much, they never thought about how they were different again. So my hope and goal is that an adult that would purchase this book for their child would get that basic lesson is we're different. We're all different, and we all want the same things. We want to be able to run and play and laugh and take naps. And hopefully children can get that lesson early on, because I think that's the thing that people feel like different means we hate each other. It just means different means we're different, and it doesn't mean we have to hate each other. So each book in the series right now, there's 10 books in the series. Each one will be based on a real life situation between Sugar and Bella, but in a context to try to get children and adults to just kind of calm down and love each other a little bit more. You can buy it on Amazon. That's where you can buy it, Amazon.com, or on sugarlovesbella.com. Because I wasn't able to do any book signings, I offer autographed copies of the book on sugarlovesbella.com.
Okay, well, I'll be sure to include links so that people can go check it out and purchase them from you. I love the message of that, and I think that I just had a conversation about the news this week and kind of where sentiments lie in terms of divisiveness within our country right now. And what a hopeful, positive, sweet way to have this message of embracing differences and loving each other for those differences. and the conversation that I just had was about, I think a lot of people are asking what can we do if we
Mm-hmm.
aren't Black? How do we respond? How do we help? And one of the answers was make sure your children are raised to appreciate differences. And so I think that that really is a small way people can help. I know that um, based on my Netflix viewing history and all the comedy specials that I love to watch, a lot of comedians talk about hard times in their own personal lives and how comedy and tragedy are, the flip side of this one experience.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, how have you parlayed your own personal challenges into a career in comedy?
Well, a couple things. First, let me speak to the last thing you just said, especially with the news and everything going on this week. When we say, what can we do? What can any of us do? Because people can share posts or share videos and share outrage online, but then it's like, what can we do? And it really is going to be action items for everyone. And if I can encourage anyone who might be watching this that is not Black, because I'll have a lot of white family and best friends, and I've had these conversations with them, but I think most white people are not racist, but I think when white people are not racist, they feel like, well, I didn't do that and that's not my problem and I don't agree with it. But I think silence makes people somewhat more complicit. And I think the more that non-racist white people speak up against racism, it takes the normalization out of it. It makes it unacceptable. It's so many things in our lifetime that we have seen that used to be acceptable that are no longer acceptable, whether it's words, whether it's titles, whether it's slang. And I think that's what it takes for racism. It takes the non-racist white people who most Black people know and love to say this is not okay. And that's for their friends and their neighbors and their family members, as opposed to saying, well, yeah, they're racist, but I'm not. That's just not enough. And then the other part about the Sugar Loves Bella message, I had one of the most emotional moments ever because, like I said, because the book came out at the beginning of the pandemic, people are either buying the book on Amazon.com, so I don't know who has it, or they're purchasing it through my portal, Sugar Loves Bella, so that I'm signing them and sending them out. Well, a police officer in New York, upstate New York, read Sugar Loves Bella at the dog park for their weekly read a kid a book thing. And this is a white police officer that I do not know reading Sugar Loves Bella on Facebook. And so for me, it made me feel like, okay, I am part of the process. I'm part of the conversation. And that's all any of us can do in our own way, is be part of the process of healing for everybody. Now, as far as what inspires my comedy, I honestly have not had an overly tragic life or existence, hard to believe. But most of my comedy is inspired by my challenges in dating. I'm single. I've never been married. I've never been engaged. I usually never have a boyfriend. I don't have any kids. And so that kind of informs a lot of my view on the world. And most of my comedy is observational. So as a news anchor, obviously I'm receiving a lot of information. Even before I was on the news, I enjoyed just consuming news. And so my comedy usually isn't based on any real tragedies that are personal, but just challenges that are ridiculous.
Can you share a ridiculous challenge?
Well, I told you, I'm single. I ain't got no man. Like, that is a ridiculous challenge. Like, who? What?
Well, hey, having one is sometimes a challenge too.
No, and I believe that too. And I did mention, I love that I'm quarantining by myself now. So I'm in a place where at 45, I'm not looking to get married or have kids, but I would like to have a person that lives somewhere else that we do stuff together sometimes. Now, I don't know what that's called, but it has transitioned through my singledom of I don't know nobody every day. But, the dating world is crazy. Dating apps are crazy. Once you actually make it to a date, it's crazy. So there's a lot of different levels. And I have a podcast called Oh No, Girl Yes, which is short for Oh No, He Didn't, Girl Yes, He Did. And it's about dating and relationships. And we're on season 2. We'll never run out of content.
Well, I do think like everybody is really desperate for a laugh right now. And it certainly brings a bright spot to, and sort of this environment of uncertainty right now. I do also want to talk about your involvement with Hoover Stardom and the comedy Quarantined. I know that you've had all kinds of guests on. Can you tell
Mhm.
me a little about how you got involved with Hoover Stardom and kind of just your vision for how this will develop?
Well, the Stardome in Hoover is one of the largest, most famous comedy clubs in the country, in the world. And so I'm very blessed to call it my home club. So as comedians, you travel all over, but you have one club that's kind of home for you. And that's been my home. It's owned by Bruce and Chi Ayers. And they are huge supporters of mine. And so anytime they ask me to do something, the answer is generally yes. And so they were looking initially for a way to raise money for the wait staff that couldn't work. Because the club had to be closed down. And so the first one was a fundraiser where we had the fun conversations with some local comedians that were local but are known nationally, and did really well with that. And then we did a few more. But the Stardome is a place where I've grown a lot professionally. I've had the opportunity to open for some of my favorite acts at the Stardome. And so I'm a little spoiled in that I don't have to be a road comic to get amazing comedy experiences because everybody comes to the Stardome. And I'm excited because the Stardome is getting ready to reopen soon. And so everybody right now is trying to figure out how to, again, embrace the new normal, how to take all the safety procedures and protocols. And even though I am very, very serious about quarantining myself, and you know, I'm not looking to jump back out into the world too quickly, doing stand-up, I think, will help me mentally to just kind of lose some of the anxiety that the unknown is offering all of us. But also, it's a very isolating sport. You know, I'm on stage, I'm not breathing with anybody. So I feel very comfortable getting back on stage and getting people to laugh. And I think in this, one of the things that makes comedy really great is shared experiences. So you might be talking about something that happened to you, but the reason why it's so funny to people is that they're like, oh my God, I had that same situation. Well, this is the most shared experience that we will probably ever have, is a global pandemic. And as much tragedy is associated with this situation, there is also a lot that we're going to just have to be able to laugh about and hopefully be able to, you know, grow from.
Well, I think that it's always nice when you can acknowledge that you have a platform and people are, you can use it to say
Mm-hmm.
what you want, to talk about the things that resonate with you, that also resonate with everybody else. It's such a refreshing take to be like, this is the most shared experience that anyone could have. What a
We
great
all
way
were
to
here
look
for
at
this one. It was, you know, a lot of times when people don't get a joke and you say you had to be there, this one we were all there. Like, let me tell you, and my comedy is based on my experience. So I'll tell you something I do plan on talking about on stage is, you know, Amazon was in the news because of protests and what's an essential item, what's a not essential item, and their workers' safety. And I personally, as a Prime member, feel like Amazon should add a few more prompts when you go through the order situation, because a water feature got delivered a few days ago that I don't remember ordering. I remember Googling solar powered water features. Okay. But I feel like if you place an order at 2:30 in the morning, I feel like Amazon should say, Eunice, do you really mean to order this solar powered water feature right now? Let's put it in the cart and check back in 24 hours. Like, help me out. So,
Sure.
yes, but I do love my new water feature. It's like, what is this? What? Did I buy that? Yeah, I bought it.
Well, I have a partner who is a late night Amazon orderer or Instagram, the sponsored content,
Yeah.
and things just start showing up, and then it's like, oh yeah, I did purchase
Yeah.
that. Oh
Well,
yeah.
here's the thing. I have learned to kind of, Instagram, not as bad as Facebook. I have learned not to order off of Facebook because 98% of things that I have ordered from Facebook have never come. And once you look at the cute little video and then you click on shop now and you read all the reviews, you're like, oh, this is going to change my life. And then you click purchase and then you get the receipt in Chinese. You're like, oh, they got me again. I will never see this item.
Or it shows up in like 9 months.
Yeah. And that's how you're like, wait, when did I do this? So yeah, I actually have right now 3 things that I've ordered from Facebook since last year that I've never seen. So.
Well, I can't wait to listen to your podcast. I feel like I've been having virtual girls' nights where some of my single girlfriends talk about
Oh,
how much their dating experience has changed
fun.
during this pandemic, because you have to actually get to know each other. You don't just immediately meet up for a date and are
Yeah.
face to face. So maybe that's a silver lining, is that you
It is, and now you're talking to people, and it's not just to get to know them; is to get to know where all they've been that day and where all they've been breathing. Uh, like,
are they
where
hand
did
washed?
you breathe today? I'm just curious. For sure, it's different.
Well, I so appreciate your time. Thank you for making me laugh today.
Oh well,
And
thank you for the invitation. Seriously, this is fun.
and your quarantine backdrop is really nice. I think that's another thing that like we're all paying attention to in these Zoom
Okay.
calls now, is like if you have the what is it, the green screen thing, like
Hmm.
are you kind of a closet slob?
Well, I am not a closet slob. I'm very open with my slobbery. And so I had to get all the old mail and wigs off of this because everybody wants to do Zoom now. I'm like, what is this Zoom thing? So I have my degree from the University of Alabama that I'm still paying for there. That's the Sugar Loves Bella book. This is a Coca-Cola from my podcast. Oh no, girl, yes. So this is all staged for Zoom, okay? And then all the things that used to be there are now over there.
Well, thank you, Eunice. I really appreciate your time today. And I look forward to seeing all of your projects continue to
Thank you.
develop and laughing alongside with you.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. You stay safe, and happy birthday, Gemini.
Gemini, Y5. That's what we've been doing at work.
Oh, is that a thing? Oh, okay.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.